I'm glad you brought up privatization and then infrastructure. So I'll take those two questions separately. Firstly, on the privatization front, now there is already talk of, IDPI privatization has been going on for a while. There's two more public sector banks which are to be privatized. We still don't know who these banks are. But is this the fear that most people have is that when you go for privatization, you lose out that whole public sector flavor of the bank. I mean, these institutions have been around for nearly a century with that essential public sector identity, and then you suddenly become a private bank, then you're not entirely sure who you are. How do you deal with these problems, sir?
Public sector banks, I think one is that this 2021 and 1969.
Yeah.
So we are in different eras. And second is, I have always said that ownership should not matter. Ownership should not matter. It's all about the governance and what you do. So even say, without diluting the shareholding or diluting the shareholding to some extent, even the existing governance structure at the public sector banks can be improved. I don't think it is written in the act that there would be a Department of Financial Services. For example, it is just an example.
Sure.
So a public sector bank can be managed by its board and can be regulated by Reserve Bank of India, as is being done for all the other banks.
Correct.
Government as a shareholder, it can be as proactive as the shareholders of private sector banks are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you have all sorts of shareholders in private sector banks, and the management of these banks is responsible to deliver to the shareholders. They are accountable. So it is not that accountability comes only when you have a direct control. It doesn't. Accountability can still be, accountability to shareholders is always there. And the management has to meet and deliver according to the expectations. So, but when we say privatization, right now, of course, it is that the act would be amended and then government would bring down the shareholding. So I believe that this State Bank of India and 5 other major banks, they are in fact currently 6 if you take Central Bank and Bank of India, the 4 other banks where mergers took place, and 4 some sort of regional banks. So the privatization of these smaller banks, that can happen. And parallelly, if really we want to improve the efficiency of the banking system and make it more modern, I think a serious look is required at it, the way they are being governed currently.